25 years ago, a new form of motorsport was born, designed to give the television schedulers an exciting pre-recorded backup for those winter Saturdays when horse racing or football were affected by the weather. The sport was conceived at Lyddon, near Dover in Kent, and the first events were created for ITV's World of Sport. With a guaranteed television audience, it's not surprising that the events attracted the works teams and Britain's top rally drivers of the day. Roger Clark for Ford. The Escort was still a year away, so Boreham fielded Lotus Cortinas and Cortina GTs against the more nimble products of BMC and Roots. Indeed, a third of the entry in those early events would be factory cars, and BMC's Mini Cooper was the one to have, with recent success on the Monte Carlo Rally in the hands of Ulsterman Paddy Hopkirk. Hopkirk was backed up by drivers such as Tony Fall and Bob Freeborough. The Roots group had Peter Harper and Eric Hassel in Sunbeam Imps, and with a rear engine over the rear wheels, whenever it was wet, they made up for a lack of power with plenty of necessary traction over that downland chalk. A few months earlier, Sweden's Bengt Soderstrom had won the R-Racing Rally for Ford using the twin-cam Lotus Cortina. But in these conditions, Roger Clark and Brian Melia were more comfortable with the torquier Cortina GT. That wet Dover day 25 years ago gave Peter Harper a decisive win over Hopkirk's overheating Mini. 3 years later, Roger Clark and Barry Lee took the new Escort twin cam to Croft in North Yorkshire. Rallycross was the place to debut new models in those days, and this event began a 10-year roll of international honour for the Mark I and II Escorts. 15 years later, in the mid-80s, the Escort was still going strong, and the then British champion John Welsh had a BDA engine version equipped with an X-Track four-wheel drive system. A similar car had powered Norway's Martin Skanker to the European Championship title 4 times between 1978 and 84. But that very fast Spa corner at Croft could prove the downfall of the Escort too. Nowadays, John Welsh drives a frighteningly fast four-wheel drive turbocharged Astra. The operative word is frightening, as the normally well-composed Chris Tarrant is about to find out.
Well, this must come under the heading Great Gigs of My Life. As you can probably see, I've been invited courtesy of Watt's car to a muddy field somewhere near Aldershot to field test what's one of the fastest cars in Britain with the British Rallycross champion John Welsh. And as you can see, conditions are absolutely perfect. It should be a really fabulous, fabulous trip. What, and give up showbiz?
John, for God's sake, John is mad! John! Some kind of psychopath!
Welsh, though, still has his cool and tells us about the classes into which rallycross cars are divided.
Well, it's basically in Formula A, anything goes. You're allowed, as long as the silhouette of the car stays the same and the engine is the same number of cylinders, fits in the hole, you've got a fairly free hand. We've gone the turbocharged four-wheel drive route. We've got a basic Manta 400 engine with a very large turbocharger off of one of the BMW Formula 1 cars. It then follows through into a very large intercooler which cools all the air down and forces it through the injection system into the engine, and basically the more that you turn the wick up, the quicker it goes. There's variations of this, but basically that is how a turbocharged engine works. We've then got a very sophisticated four-wheel drive system on the car, which we can alter the bias front to back, and that happens very easy from, if I can show you inside the cockpit. There's a little lever which is just here. When you push it forward, you have 50% four-wheel drive on the front, and when you pull it back, you have 25% four-wheel drive. Very sophisticated X-Track system. The whole car is built around the roll cage to give it strength, stability, and hang all the Kevlar panels, which most of the Rallycross cars have got. The back of the cars are all fairly simple. In these ones, we've just carried the radiator, fuel pumps, very large tank for the oil, and an oil cooler. Really, you've got to put the stuff wherever it fits because there's no room in the front. A lot of these type of cars in Formula A actually carry the radiator in the back of the car. For that, you'll find there's a different weight balance, but really it's to get the balance of the car and use the room that you've got effectively. If we then carry on to one of the other cars in Formula A, then we'll show what the difference is. Well, basically, this is one of the cars which was made by the manufacturers of an original batch of 200 is what they had to make for the World Championship rallying. Very sophisticated motor cars and very, very effective. As you can see in the front of this one, we've got the radiator, we've got the cooling fans and oil tanks, the balance bar for the adjustable braking. If we go to the back of the car, then we'll see the main difference. What you've got in the back is a purpose-built racing engine. It's V6. This one is 3 litres, and they vary as high as, say, Steve Palmer's, which I believe is up to 3.9 litres. They give about 480 brake horsepower, which with tremendous response. That is the advantage. It's got loads of torque, tremendous response. They were built to slightly different regulations to the other cars, which they run a homologation in about a year's time. But as you can see, the complete last half of the car is all engine and transmission. Again, it's 4-wheel drive, very, very sophisticated little motor car.
The Group B supercars, having been outlawed from rallying, have now completed their time in Rallycross. And from 1993 onwards, the class will be for cars which are based on Group A production shells. In their time, though, they've given plenty of entertainment. Witness this battle at Lyddon between the 1990 British champion Steve Palmer and Rob Gibson, with whom we ride.
Gibson away, but there was a warm-up for this race and he didn't go out for it. Strange as it may seem, Rob was sitting on pole, which, as we've said, is not the best place to be at Lyddon Hill, and that shows because the man who went onto the outside of the front row is the one who's come away in the lead, and the centre positioned man is in second place. That is Gary Baker. So the front row of the grid again showing reverse positions for the drivers, and once again we can see that pole position at Lyddon has not been good to Rob Gibson, but as I said, he didn't go out for the warm-up. The race was hesitated. We held back a bit because Peter Harold was in trouble with that beetle. The fan belt had come off, and they held the start of the race so long that the tyre warmers' work was overcome. The tyres went cold, so they gave the drivers a warm-up lap, and Rob Gibson didn't go out for it. But let's see what he can do, because it looks to me as though he has moved now into second place. Yes, Gibbo up in full flight into second place, and there we can see the gap between him and Steve Palmer as they come away down into Chesson. So Steve Palmer, former Lyddon champion, the British champion of 1990, the Sherwood's British Open Division 2 champion of 1990, really being hounded now by Rob Gibson. And if there's a big entertainer in British Rallycross, it's just got to be Rob Gibson. This guy never knows when to stop trying. He really is a great little character, very determined character. He's got a lot of fans all over the UK and across Europe, and none bigger, of course, than his wife Shirley. And he nearly gets through there, because you can see from our onboard camera that Stephen Palmer got very, very sideways, and Gibson nearly did it. Gibson having a real go now, and Rob Gibson really hounding the British champion Stephen Palmer. But Stephen it is, leading them away. Rob Gibson in second place. They come past Mabs back through the chicane onto the tarmac, and Gibbo looking for the inside, and this is where he's going to do it. Can Rob Gibson get through on the inside? No. Stephen Palmer, a very sideways Stephen Palmer, still holds an advantage. Gibbo takes a much tighter line through Chesson, drifts out wide on the exit of it, but Stephen Palmer moves over, closes the door, just as Rob Gibson has done to so many of his rivals in the past. And Stephen, of course, a motocross rider who may be using different lines around this track to try and throw Rob Gibson off scent. If a driver sticks to the same line all the time, another driver can follow him closely and then try and make his decision as to where to overtake. But if the driver in front has all manner of different lines in and out of the corners, then of course you just can't predict what he's going to do, and it makes overtaking all the more difficult. Sideways onto the loose, round Paddock Bend they come, and Gibbo closing once again on Stephen Palmer, and this is where he's going to have another go. He goes over the curbs and his shoulder is through. No, he's not. Oh, I'm sure he nearly got through there, but he gets a little bit too crossed up, and it was Stephen Palmer who got it back again. This is tremendous stuff, and it is Stephen Palmer really being made to fight all the way here, and Rob Gibson giving it his all, and as they go for the flag, it is Stephen Palmer just getting it.
The next class down is Formula B. 2-wheel drive only and no turbocharging.
All right, John, we've now moved across to another Formula car, Formula B car. This is the Astra 16 valve Tony body. Take us through this one.
Well, obviously, Tony's the class leader in Formula B. What he's using is the Vauxhall 16-valve engine. To be eligible for Formula B, the injection has to be off and it runs on a pair of carburetors. Virtually anything goes in this Formula as long as the engine fits in the hole. It's front-wheel drive, very special, again, gearboxes. The radiators sit in the front. The whole car has a lot of weight in the front of the car to try and get weight over the front wheels to give it traction off the line. The disadvantage of this car is that on the circuit it's probably the fastest in lap times, but off the line for the first 20 yards it hasn't quite got the traction of the rear-wheel drive cars that we'll come to.
And that is absolutely vital, isn't it, at the start?
That's what's vital, that's what makes exciting racing. Tony normally has to start from first, second or third, maybe lower down in a race and work his way forward.
All right, John, we've now moved from the Astra to Roger Newbold's car, the Renault Ford. Now, tell us how different this car is.
Well, basically, Roger's car is based on the little Renault 5 Turbo. What he's done very cleverly is taken the engine out of the Cosworth Sierra, done away with the turbocharging and put it on carburetors to make it eligible for the class, and it all sits on effectively a Hewland gearbox with the suspension coming off, very similar to all the single-seaters that are going around. But basically Roger has a lot of traction in this car. The engine is 2.4, 2400cc, and it has a lot of torque. So basically Roger uses the torque to his main advantage. Very quick off the line, without a doubt, very quick in a straight line, but probably not so nimble as Tony's, but it leads for cracking racing.
Staying now with Formula B and our third different type of car. This is the Brian Betteridge Escort. Tell us about this one.
Brian's car is always very nicely prepared. It's a credit to see. What Brian has done is taken a front-wheel drive Mark III Escort and converted it through people like Gartrack Fabrications in Godalming and converted it to rear-wheel drive. It's very, very similar to the old Mark II Escort layout. Everything is tremendously reliable, ever so nice, delightful to drive actually. In the front we have a 2-litre, maybe 2.2, I don't know what CC Brian is, BDA engine, which is probably the best little racing engine in Rallycross and ever so reliable, very, very good. Exactly the same as the other cars in the class. It's on the pair of carburetors and probably produces something in the region of about 260, 270 brake horsepower. Very fun to drive, these cars.
For years, Newbold and Bardi have scrapped over the British Formula B title. Here they take up cudgels at Mondello Park in Ireland.
But it is the man from the outside we're going to watch, but not making the best of starts. Tony Bardi with the Vauxhall going away into second spot. Tony again beaten off the start line, and once again it's Roger Newbold who leads him. Roger Newbold then going away, Tony Bardi into second place, Brian Betteridge has slotted into third place behind Betteridge. Tony Proctor has made a superb start to come through into fourth. No doubt about it, the Mondello Park circuit really suits him. There is Mike Mantell with his new rear-wheel drive Mark III Escort in a very strong fifth position. But it is Roger Newbold leading. Now then, can Tony Bardi close in and do anything about our race leader? Tony, once again, with the Vauxhall Dealer Sport backed car, beaten off the start line. And it's very interesting to hear one of the reasons that Tony Bardi's giving us why this car, he feels, is not as quick off the start line as the Steiner Uranli Group A car that we see in the European Series. He thinks it's because this car is right-hand drive and Steiner's is left-hand drive. And Tony says the weight in the car is biased to the right. Put a driver in on the left-hand side and you counteract it and you make a nice even balance on the front. Put a right-hand drive car onto the circuit and you've got a more weight bias to the right and making it even more difficult to get off the start line. Well, that's his theory. It's a very interesting one. He certainly, once he's got off the line, he is as quick as anybody else in British Rallycross in his category. And Tony Bardi really is got his tail up now and he's really having a look at Roger Newbold. And once again, it's these two Yorkshiremen dominating the Formula B category here this afternoon, the larger category for the two-wheel drive cars, and it's Tony Bardi surely through on the inside there. Yes, Tony Bardi's got it through on the inside of Roger Newbold. Can Roger fight back? Roger going a little bit wide as they came up over the finish line area, and Tony Bardi took the opportunity to go through as Tony Proctor spins out. Tony Proctor spinning out. His good run has all been for nothing, and Procky rejoins at the back end of the order, this very popular man. But Tony Bardi now pulling away from Roger Newbold, and Tony Bardi then looking for his first victory in the Formula B Championship this year, the reigning British Formula B champion. There is Mike Mantell really warming up the back end of the Brian Betteridge car. And notice that the wipers are now going on the Tony Bardi car. It has been a bit showery here earlier in the afternoon at Mondello. Well, most of the racing it's been dry, but it does look as though we've got a storm coming up, and this is going to be very critical for Tony to get through, and in fact I think it is raining quite hard out there now. Tony coming through, they will have started this race surely on slicks, but the track getting itself quite slippery now, and Roger Newbold would play into his hands surely if it did get wet, although the front wheel drive characteristics of the Tony Bardi car are good enough, and Tony takes it. Tony wins that one and gets maximum points in Formula B.
All right, John, we've now moved across to Formula C. We're with the John Milner Peugeot 205. Now, this is for cars up to 1600cc. How about this one as a road car?
I wouldn't mind one of these as a road car. It's obviously based on the 205 Peugeot road car and the very successful Group A 205 rally car. Immaculately prepared, as most of the cars in the class. There's not a lot you can say. Everything on the engine is very, very fractionally different, but based on the road car. Again, 1600cc, it has the carburetors, close ratio gearbox kit, that's just an oil backup system to keep pressure up, very similar to a dry sump system. Really, engine over the wheels again, loads of traction, very, very fast, and the absolute top of the development. I don't think if John really had to think about it within the class regulations, there's not very much that he could do. Everything is as near perfect as you could make one of these cars.
Well, we'll stay with Formula C, John, but this time we're with a 30-year-old design of car. This is the Ian Sandwith Mini.
Yeah, Ian's taken this Mini, and as with the spirit of Rallycross, he's started out at the bottom. He's kept the Mini in its original guise. It's still front-wheel drive. He's squeezed the engine up to 1530cc. It's on a single carburettor, ever so light. Everything is off the car that possibly can be off the car. It embarrasses some of the more modern cars, but that's the advantage of Rallycross. You can come into the sport, build a car, stay with it over the years and work your way up through the classes.
The young Johnny Milner was certainly the man to beat in Formula C in 1990. By 91 he was concentrating full-time on the National Rally Championship, and his superb car control is demonstrated here at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire.
And if John wins this one this afternoon, having picked up 5 points already for the fastest in qualifying, then I don't really honestly think that anybody can have any ghost of a chance of taking this championship from him. Runner-up the last 2 years to the Novas of Russ Spink and Peter Rucroft, but it looks very much like third time lucky for Des O'Dell's Gold Boy, Johnny. It is now he's going to be going some, because remember, as we've told you before, the fastest cars from the A finals comprise the grid for the super final, and John will be wanting to get into the super final because this is, as we said, a bit of a driver's circuit, and I'm sure Johnny thinks to himself, well, I'll find somebody to race against there and perhaps get in the action again and get a good result. He leads at the moment. In second place, it's not too surprisingly Ian Sandwith. We can see Chris Bellamy, who won the B final, as you know, earlier, has already moved up one place there. There is Sandy in second place, Rob Coates in third, Colin Rowley fourth, Roy Boyd Clark fifth, Peter Dorton with a Citroen Visa sixth, there's Chris Bellamy seventh and David Knowles eighth. So a very good mix of machinery. Peugeot, then comes Mini, and then we have the Metro. Behind the Metro we have Roy with his Mini. We've also got, of course, examples of Samba and Talbot in there, and also the Citroen Visa. So a very good mix of machinery, but certainly not at the moment that can get with the car of John Milner. And you may have noted today, not a single Vauxhall Nova in Formula C, other than the Vauxhall Novas that we've seen in the challenge today. In fact, there was just one Nova entered. That was Steve Bogg. That broke a Conrod in practice this morning, so he's out. So there is really nobody here to challenge Johnny Milner.
Ever since the invention of Formula Ford, one-make series have proved to be the bedrock of motor racing and rallying. In 1990, Vauxhall brought the concept to Rallycross.
It's the same as Formula C. We've kept it like that, so if you don't want the Nova Challenge, you can go over to one of the other classes. It runs on the carburetors. It's the 1.6 Vauxhall engine, very, very reliable, out of the GTE. Group A exhaust systems on it, and everything that you see on the car is very simple. The standard shock absorbers that you have to fit, there's a special springs you have to fit. Very nearly every component is thought out for you. You don't have to know what you're doing. You can buy the parts and bolt them on, and you won't be very, very far off the pace. Most of the engines are around about the 150 brake horsepower limit. Some maybe have 155. If you look at the rest of the car, you'll find that it's all standard panels. Nothing is complicated. It can all be built in the workshop at home. The idea of it is to provide a cheap way into racing, but with very nice cars. Every one of the championships is very nicely produced. They're all front-wheel drive. They're on standard production tyres. You can only make one type of tyre, one type of wheel, and really, it's a cracking way to start Rallycross.
Air hostess Susie Brailsford not only brought a touch of glamour to the Vauxhall Nova Rallycross Challenge, but she proved to be very competitive and a winner too. Here she is on the track at Swindon.
Familiar red and black colours of Texaco go on their way. Susie goes down through the cogs. Made to work very, very hard here at Swindon. We can still see that really good scrap going on behind her, but certainly they're not getting close enough to challenge, Alan.
No, I think Susie, well, I think this circuit particularly, but I said the Novas are suited to it, and Susie particularly has obviously taken the first two qualifiers as a learning curve, and now she knows exactly where to put the car, and here she is in the lead.
Yep.
Well, she wants a good time as well. She needs a good time.
Yeah, I mean, remember the qualifying races here, of course, will decide the positions for the finals, the all-important point-scoring finals. And Susie lifting the inside wheels there, and still Paul Coney can't find a way past the Greg Borman car. And of course the grid positions here are very critical at Swindon. You may wonder how the cars are gridded. Well, it's at the organiser's discretion. It doesn't have any bearing on practice times or previous results in earlier heats. What the organisers try to do during the three qualifying heats is to give every driver the option of a front row, a middle row and a back row of the three-row grid in the three heats. Try and make it as fair as possible for everybody. On a tight, twisty circuit like this, where overtaking is not the easiest situation, then it does tend to throw up some different winners, but that take nothing away from Susie. She's driving well as she comes on. Behind her, that battle still goes on. As we come towards the dying stages of this race, Susie coming off Mermaid Curve, still holding the advantage, and Susie it is still chased by Greg Borman, Paul Coney and Rob Coates as they come down towards the closing stages, and Susie B comes through to take the checkered flag. Susie winning this one from a close finish behind her.
Yeah, I think basically practice makes perfect, and coming into the sport as a novice driver, it's been quite hard work. But I think really once you're out there and you're getting stuck in, everything, you know, experience counts for a lot, and I think basically having had sort of 6 months at it now, it's coming together a lot more. So I think it's basically practice making perfect, and of course getting used to the car and getting everything right at the end of the day.
Now the championship winner, the challenge winner, Ian Evans, isn't with us today. He's running in the Formula C. Does that mean that we might see Susie B on the checkered rostrum?
Well, I hope so. I'll certainly be giving it a good go, and 100% as they say.
Former world champion boxer Barry McGuigan, turning his talents to motorsport, also took to the Novas. He was determined to do well at Mondello on his native Emerald Isle.
We ride with Barry in the Daily Star Nova. This the fourth round of the GMX Exchange Units Nova Challenge, and former world boxing champion Barry McGuigan there, and Barry's come through it in the lead. Barry McGuigan leads, Steve Easton in second place, Jim Cook is third, Paul Coney is down in fourth place, but Barry McGuigan leads it. There is 1-4-1 going through there, that is Jeff Wright from Darlington, but it is the former world boxing champion Barry McGuigan leading it. Barry McGuigan coming at the end of lap number 1. Steve Easton in second place. Barry McGuigan goes in. The car goes on to two wheels and Barry McGuigan's rolled in. Oh dear, that looks an horrific accident there. And Barry McGuigan, the camera at least still works inside the car. And what a sad sight. A very, very badly damaged car there for Barry McGuigan.
After the first lap, or coming into the second lap on the fastest part of the stage, coming down the tarmac onto a very fast right-hander, and I turned in 3/4 of a car length in front of Steve Easton. At that stage it was more than that. Steve just left his braking too late, made contact with me on the back right corner of the car, and that was enough to put me over. We were doing 85-90 miles an hour. I went up on the front left wheel, looked in the mirror when I should have been straightening the wheel out, and I was over and it was gone. Very unfortunate, but we've got a new car, new shell, and new engine, and we're looking forward to the day. I've been out on the circuit. It's a very fast circuit, and it's been a bit wet this morning. It's drying out now, of course, but it means that it's going to be very fast racing today, very close racing. These cars are very evenly matched, and it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to win soon.
We're on board with Barry there. And we see Steve Easton moved into second place ahead of Rob Coates. And these two really battling for that second and third position. Lifting a wheel there over on the back. Onto the rough, through Sampson's. And we see McGuigan going really wide in this section again, and that allows the other two to catch him up. But anyway, McGuigan goes into the start-finish straight, takes the checkered flag, and he had the fastest qualifying time of 3:19.8. Now then, on to the next heat. The most successful newcomer to the Novas this season is Bert Greenway. He's leading here, ahead of Steve Lewis, another newcomer to the series. And watch this white and red car here, another newcomer to the series, Phil Long. And he rolls it over there, misses the marshal and gets a bit of a shaking up. Now in another heat, Nick Jones leads here. And here's Paul Coney, championship contender, taking the tyres. Watch the top of your screen as 466 Clive Cheek, another newcomer, learns the hard way about those bumps. No less than 8 cars rolled that day at Croft. The Little Novas are certainly entertaining. And a similar series for Peugeot 205 GTIs is run in France. And Rob Gale there brings a new meaning to the word over and under. With so many incidents, we're surprised there were enough cars left to make up a final. He is not a happy man.
So Rob Coates there coming up onto the line for the Nova Challenge final. Rob, who is the current leader of the Nova Challenge category, has yet to win a race outright. Says he's going to do it here this afternoon in the Tetley Round Teabags entry. Bert Greenway from Gloucester will be trying to make sure that he doesn't. A wry smile there from the face of Bert Greenway. Bert with 2 victories already in A finals in this category. Let's see what happens. We're riding with Barry McGuigan. Barry has done very well to qualify for the A final. In fact, Barry was the fastest man during the first qualifying heats, and as the lights go green, they all get cleanly away, and it is Bert Greenway from pole position coming in to lead from Rob Coates in second place. Steve Easton dropping down there into 4th as the first of the Basil Thomas cars comes up into 3rd place. I think that might be young Nick Jones. You can see the Novas hopping around there. Paul Coney getting a bit crossed up, as is Barry McGuigan. There is Barry having a little bit of door handling, I think, there with Paul Coney, and Barry getting things a little bit wrong, you could say, coming out of the old chicane, the rest of the order going through, and we wait to see if Barry can recover from that. But meantime, it is Rob Coates on his home track, containing the West Countryman Bert Greenway. There is Susie Brailsford, who went well during qualifying as well. She's straight into the A final. Barry recovering here with the Daily Star entry, and Barry McGuigan closing in on the B final winner, Jim Cook, who's getting very, very crossed up there. Jim getting away with it, but I think Barry coming through. We could see Davy Crockett's car there in front as well, but up front of them all of them, it's Bert Greenway again from Rob Coates in second place with the Tetley T entry. 3rd place now is Nick Jones. 4th is who is 4th? Is that Paul Coney? Yes, it is Paul Coney up into 4th place. Paul running a new engine in that car this afternoon. There goes Davy Crockett in the left-hand car. The 2 Irishmen there, because behind him is indeed Barry McGuigan. Barry coming through the old chicane, down onto the loose, down looking to go on the inside there. It's a car there. He's going to go round the outside of that. Is Basil Thomas. Barry on the outside of Basil Thomas, but he's got very, very crossed up. He's off onto the infield. Oh dear, it looks as if he has rolled it.
Oh no, please! Oh no, please! Oh shit!
You alright, mate?
So totally distraught Barry McGuigan. We have a look here at what built up to that. You can see Paul Coney in the yellow car going really wide round Sampson's, trying to have a go at Rob Coates. Now, unbeknown to him, at the top of your screens, you can see Barry McGuigan coming into Sampson, hits a bump, goes completely sideways between those 2 cars, heading straight towards the tyres, and frankly, if it wasn't for the tyres, he might have just got away with that, but he rolls it over and nearly rights itself, but not quite, and he is absolutely furious. He'd been doing so well earlier on during the day, and after his roll at Mondello, I knew he was full of confidence and ready to go. On 2 wheels round Devil's Elbow, Susie Brailsford. But the most spectacular incident in the first season of the Nova Challenge came from the garishly painted car of Derek Lightfoot. The place, North Bend Hairpin at Lyddon. Hook your inside wheel over the curb and over you go. Derek does it again for us in slow motion. The roll seemed to speed up as it progressed, but those tyres certainly gave him a soft landing. In the European Championship Series, the class divisions are slightly different. European Division 2 is much the same as British Formula A. Cars such as Will Gollop's bi-turbo-powered Metro 6R4. But Division 1 is for international Group A spec cars, no four-wheel drive. This is Steinar Duranlis 16-valve Astra, which is front-wheel drive and suffers from the same slow-off-the-line problems as Tony Bardes does in Britain. The car to have in Division 1 is the Ford Sierra Cosworth. We ride here in Trevor Reeves' example at Lyddon. Reeves is the only Briton to have competed regularly in this class, finishing the 89 series in third place.
The Group A cars are basically production based. You're not allowed to change the shell around too much. It's quite free in terms of engine, especially if you've got a turbocharger like the RS500 is. And the suspension is basically the same geometry and everything that you have on the standard car. So you are relatively limited, although having said that, they do turn out to be quite expensive.
The king of Division 1 is Sweden's Kenneth Hansen. His car, a 500 brake horsepower Cosworth. European Division 1 champion for the last 3 years, one of the few finals which he didn't win in 1991 was here in Austria.
Kenny Hansen leading this tremendous battle now for second place, and we've got Skogstad coming up to challenge Ludwig Hunsmith for second place. They're coming down. Skogstad locks his brakes up there, and we can see Kenny Hansen also in trouble there, and it looks as though Hunsmith's gone through into the lead.
But behind him, Jernberg and Skogstad have a coming together. And here we see Jernberg scrambling out, about to test his friendship with Skogstad. Every few years, the Rallycross nations compete against each other in a team event. In 1990, Croft hosted the Internations Cup, and Norway started as firm favourites. With only Trevor Reeves competitive in Division 1, Britain had to rely on the Division 2 supercars to give Norway a run for its money. In this race, John Welsh found himself in a head-to-head with Norway's Terje.
But nevertheless, it's John Welch putting all the problems of that first heat non-point scoring run behind him and driving superbly well to try and get the Astra around the outside of Terry Ski. Terry having none of it at the moment, and that's allowing Sturkis to close in a little bit in third place. So Terry Ski at the moment dominating the speed of this race, and one would think that if John can get past the Norwegian, he may well pull clear. John Welch it is with the 4x4 X-Track transmission, turbocharged, four-wheel drive, Astra Turbo, this unique motor car, and John's now really got the car and his team running very, very well indeed, or his team I should say, have got the car running very well. They've been plagued by misfiring problems all through the summer months, but now John tells me the engine is really sweet, and we can see John Welch, true professional, not letting the problems of yesterday get behind him and concentrating his efforts here for Great Britain now and trying to get past this Norwegian Terry Ski, the Norwegian champion of 1990, fourth in the European Championship this year, and Ski goes very, very wide. John trying to get his nose on the inside, and this is where John Welch could come through and take the lead for Great Britain. They are side by side as they go down towards the shuttle. Who's it going to be? Terry Ski just gets it, moves over, closes the door. John putting him under tremendous pressure as they come away, and John Welch trying to get 9 points here for Britain in this last qualifying heat before we go to the finals. Terry Ski trying to get them for Norway, and Ski getting a little bit further away from John Welch there, now opening up the gap to about 2 or 3 cars lengths. Terry Ski with the mid-engine 4-cylinder turbocharged Peugeot T16 Evolution car really being hounded now and again. John Welch trying to go round the outside, all the way round the outside in Sanson Curve. That is an absolutely superb piece of driving for John Welch, and John goes into the Mad Hatter complex just a little bit too quickly, and Ski is able to come back and take the lead from him again. Now John has another look, and this time it's Ski who goes wide, and Ski dancing all around the place, and John Welch coming in. This is a replay of the action. This has to be one of the most brilliant manoeuvres we've seen throughout the entire weekend, but just a little bit too much power into the Mad Hatter complex. John drifts wide, Terry is able to come through, take the advantage, but only momentarily, because as he hops over the curbs and drifts very, very wide, you can see that Ski is in problems, and John Welch is now going away into his last lap, convincingly in front. Well, Alan, that was superb.
I think this has got to be the finest race of the weekend, and John Welch really making up for that non-start yesterday. He was very, very angry about that, but professional, as you said he is, he's back here with a bit very firmly between his teeth.
And 9 points for the British team. Well, that's a great way for Britain to go out of the qualifying, that really is.
It's nice, because the whole year you're fighting like a lone wolf, and all of a sudden you belong to a team of 6 members. So obviously you have to forget everything that's been on before, because now you have to go and look and take care and give advices to everyone. So it's a totally different kettle of fish.
And so to the last race but one. Norway seemed sure of retaining the cup. Britain, they were second, ahead of Sweden and Belgium. Britain still had a chance if Welch could beat Martin Skanker in this one.
Still John Welch hounding Martin Skanker all the way. He looks for the inside as they go to Sanson Curve. He's not quite close enough to do anything about it. Can he do it? He's very, very sideways. He's getting right in there with Martin Skanker, and again a tremendous performance coming in from John Welch as they come up into the Mad Hatter complex once again. John takes a very tight line, almost riding over the curbs. He's hounding Martin Skanker all the way to the flag, and is Martin Skanker still leading from John Welch, and this is exhilarating action here. And as they go to the checkered flag, Martin Skanker wins it, but boy did he have to work for it. A brilliant second for John Welch.
So, Norway took the honours, and they weren't slow to celebrate.
That's the way it goes. Martin has been hoisted in the air there by the Norwegian supporters, and Martin getting back in the car.
With no motor racing and rallying in its infancy, Rallycross is a #1 sport in Norway. The only country where Rallycross is front page news.
Correct that Norway are going to retain this position.
So, as we leave the Norwegians to celebrate, let's find out what it's really like to be in the thick of it on the track. Courtesy of modern micro TV cameras, Will Gollop, Steve Palmer and others, we go on board. Fasten your seatbelts.
Under starters orders then, the top 6 drivers in Division 1 here at Mondello this afternoon. The A final for the Division 1 Group A cars. And it is Skogstad coming away from pole position, making a very good start. Kenny Hansen slots into second place. Then comes Huntsbeth. And look at Ekstrom. Ekstrom has come through from the back row of the grid, winning the B final into 4th position. But the leader is Bjorn Skogstad from Kenny Hansen, Ludwig Huntsbeth, Bengt Ekstrom, Steiner Uranli and Michael Jernberg. Those are the 6 cars that go through Subaru. And Kenny Hansen having a look there for the lead. But look at Ludwig Huntsbeth. Ludwig Huntsbeth coming up very, very strongly with the BMW. And they are very, very close together. And Uranli trying to get through on the inside. Uranli tangling with Bengt Ekstrom yet again. Uranli's car looking a little bit second-hand as it comes away. He has once again forced his way through into 4th position. Ekstrom goes back to the back end of the order. Meantime, the battle very much on for the lead, and it's Bjorn Skogstad from Kenny Hansen. Huntsbeth, then Uranli. Then comes Michael Jernberg with Bengt Ekstrom having dropped back now into last position. So Bjorn Skogstad through the Subaru chicane. Kenny Hansen in second place. Then comes Ludwig Huntsbeth. Uranli trying to keep in on the act there in 4th place with Michael Jernberg not that far away. Those leading 5 cars still very closely bunched as they come out of Barham up towards the completion of lap number 2. And it is still Bjorn Skogstad. Kenny Hansen shadowing him all the way around. Huntsbeth dropping back a little bit. Then comes Uranli and Michael Jernberg. Those 5 still very close together as they go out of Castrol and away down towards the hairpin. Still in the lead, it is Bjorn Skogstad with the reigning European champion, Kenny Hansen, having a look. Kenny really having a look, though. Those 2 cars beginning to break clear away from Ludwig Huntsbeth. Uranli is in 4th place, and Hansen is really having a look now. Hansen trying to get on the inside. Skogstad having none of it at the moment as they come away. It is still Skogstad from Hansen, Huntsbeth and Uranli. Amazingly, Uranli staying with them. Then comes Michael Jernberg. They go through into Castrol once again, and those 5 cars are still very close together, and it is still Skogstad leading from Hansen. And then comes Huntsbeth, Uranli and Michael Jernberg. And there goes Uranli through into 3rd place, I think. He is alongside, and they're all very, very close together. Yes, Huntsbeth goes down to 4th place. Hansen is coming, and it's Uranli having a go. Uranli up into 3rd place now. Kenny Hansen still leads it over. Kenny Hansen, I beg your pardon, still challenging Bjorn Skogstad. Skogstad still with the advantage from Kenny Hansen. Uranli is getting in there. Uranli is coming up to challenge those 2 leading Sierra Cosworths as they go down once again towards the Subaru chicane. They are all still very, very close together. Huntsbeth and Michael Jernberg are not that far away, but Kenny Hansen, try as he may, cannot find a way past Bjorn Skogstad. And the 5 cars are like a train going down into Barham once again. And again, they close right up under braking for Barham. And it is amazing drive here coming from Uranli. Uranli again trying to come on the inside, this time of Kenny Hansen. And Uranli looking for second place, but it's Skogstad still with the advantage. Skogstad leads. Then comes Hansen, Uranli. Jernberg is up now into 4th place. Huntsbeth has dropped to 5th. This is a tremendous battle. This has got to be the best A final we have seen this year in the European Championship. Our screen sport cameras capture the action as we get through into the lead. Goes Kenny Hansen. Hansen into the lead. Skogstad is now down into 4th position. Hansen in 4th position. They're on their last lap. They're going down into Barham for the last time. And it is Kenny Hansen leading. Uranli is amazingly in 2nd position, and that I think is where he's going to stay. Michael Jernberg is 3rd. And as they come to the checkered flag, it's Kenny Hansen takes victory. And Jernberg gets 2nd place. Michael Jernberg takes 2nd place. A marvellous drive from Jernberg. 3rd place goes to Uranli, but what a fantastic race.
That was how Kenneth Hansen took his 3rd consecutive European title. But at the other end of the Division 1 scale, things were not quite so happy, as we shall see.
I'd like you to meet Jose Borges. Today, he drives a brand new Citroën AX sponsored by a company called Panic. It's shiny and immaculate at the moment. Now, for Jose, life's exciting. Look, 2 wheels are better than none, but the other drivers are finding his attentions less than welcome. Whoops, there goes the left front wing. Inexperience or what? Well, from here on, Jose decides to take the inside line again. 2 dings down, and Jose's spirit is completely unbroken. Now, guess who's the centre of attention here? Yes, dear old Jose again. I wonder if it's anything to do with that 3-hour lunch, but he still doesn't panic, look. Well, by now, the car seriously needs more than just a teacup, but the crowd love Jose on or off the track. One careful senora honest, Gov. Honest. So, although the car looks distinctly second-hand, there's still life in the old dog yet. Here we see the main field racing as usual in the C final, but someone seems to be missing. Yes, it's dear old Jose, by now forging the nickname Jose, I did it my way. Well, maybe a spot too much oversteer there, but don't worry, today's new car may be wrecked, but Jose's overalls are clean and as white as the day he donned them. And the crowd giving him a timely round of applause. Can this really be the car that Jose drove around the streets of Lusada at lunchtime, brand new? Well, his comments to the marshal lose something in the translation. But basically he's saying, well, Gov, it was like this. There's that groove in the loose there, really, and there was nothing I could do.
The 1991 European Division 2 Championship proved to be a gripping battle between the two giants of the sport, Martin Skanker and Will Gollop. Martin won the first 3 rounds, and then Will replied with wins in France, Ireland and Sweden. 3-all as they came to Belgium and the Massa-Mechlin circuit.
The battle really is between these two, and Skanker pulling away at the moment. He seems to have a slight edge on Gollop at this stage. Steve Palmer comfortably in third, but being challenged by Kristoffersen in the Audi. And these two, you can see why they're leading the championship at the moment, absolutely side by side, and there's very little to choose between them. Skanker driving superbly, Gollop pushing really hard, and all he can hope for is a mistake at this stage. And Steve Palmer actually closing on the Thorholm in 4th, Kristoffersen in 5th, Rob Gibson in a terrible mess back there in 6th, but still running. He will not give up. Rumour says he's going to retire and open a pub in Cheshire called the Something Arms, and maybe he ought to have a go at that. But meanwhile, it's Skanker from Gollop, from Palmer, Thorholm hanging on to 4th there, and Kristoffersen 5th, and poor old Rob Gibson limping back there at the end of the field. Skanker actually making an impression at this stage. And it looks as if Skanker is stamping a bit of authority on this race. He's pulling away from Will Gollop. And Steve Palmer isn't that much out of contention, but Gollop actually pulling a little closer. It really is anyone's race still at the very front of this event. And Skanker's only got to make one tiny mistake and Gollop will snap him up. But at the moment, it's Skanker, Gollop, Palmer, not really very much closer. And the crowd actually standing on... Can you stand on tenterhooks? I'm not sure you can, but as he comes around, you can see fuel pouring out of the back of Will Gollop's Metro there. The man from Canterbury who runs the G-Tech preparation business. He's coming really hard on the inside now. And can Skanker stave it off? But my word, that was a good challenge from Gollop. And it's still Skanker from Gollop, and Gollop is not letting up at all. This is European Championship Rallycross, and there's an awful lot at stake here. Even Steve Palmer is managing to push hard and is still in there with a chance of a good position. But Gollop coming alongside Skanker again, but he's got the wrong line going into that corner, and Skanker pulls away as they come onto the loose. Steve Palmer is getting ever closer. But the race is between these two, and Gollop gives him another shove up the backside again. That won't be pleasing Skanker. Gollop goes alongside. Is he going to get through? It's so close, and in fact Skanker's had to drift really wide, and Skanker gets all caught up with Gollop there and takes the bank. Now then, I'm sure Martin Skanker, of all of the drivers out here today, will have something to say about that. Meanwhile, Gollop is taking advantage of his position out in front and carrying on driving as if nothing happened, and I'm sure there'll be some sort of inquiry about it. But anyway, Will Gollop in the lead, getting all the cheers of the crowd. Steve Palmer second, Thorholm third, Rob Gibson stumbling around there in 4th position as Will Gollop comes round to take the checkered flag, and he wins the 7th round of the European Championships.
One entertaining driver whose luck was certainly not in 1991 was Cheshire's Rob Gibson.
We started in Portugal, the first European event, and Matt Varek, the big Audi, hit me straight in the side and come through the passenger window. We had to come back to England, have a quick repair. It took us approximately a week. In Austria, straight off the line on the first left-hand corner, Kristoffersen pushed me into the tyre walls, which was a big concrete block in the middle of it.
and we launched off that. It shoved the car back approximately 6 inches, but we launched off that, ran it straight up in the air and took every corner of the car off. After that, we had a quick rebuild. We straightened the shell as best we could and went on to the next European. But another bad one in Ireland, we come off the start line. The first right-hand bend there, which is a bit of a blind one, I was behind Martin. We took the corner directly behind Martin, and Christopherson was out of control. His throttle stuck wide open. He come straight into the side of me at full bore sort of thing. That was the European season done, which was quite a bad one for me, but we did well in the end. We come 5th. And then we went to a Masters event in the middle of the season in Switzerland. It was quite a good event, good track, but coming round to the start-finish line, we got a bit too much power on, made a mistake, and we hit the armco pretty hard. And what made it worse, all the armco fell apart, and we got entangled in it, and we took the side of the car out. The old shell after the 91 European ended, we had to rebuild it. Well, we had a new shell ready to rebuild, and that's what we've been doing over the winter months. We put a new shell on, we've done a lot of modifications to the engine, suspension. There's been 3 of us on it for a constant 6 weeks, but it's taken us about 3 months on and off. That's with me doing the engine and the mechanics and painter doing the bodywork, so it's taken us roughly 3 months of hard work.
After Belgium, the pendulum swung back to Skanker, who took his RS200 to wins in Holland and Norway. The penultimate round was at Lyden, Will's home track, but he had to win here to keep his championship hopes alive.
Oh, and again a brilliant start from Skanker, but a terrible start from Will Gollop. Will makes a terrible start. He has to win here today to keep his European Championship alive, and he's coming through to have a look for second place. Will Gollop going round the outside of Pat Duran, or at least trying to. Oh, and a bit of contact there between. Oh, and Will Gollop. Oh, he's been caught by Gary Baker. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And the Will Gollop car catches fire. Will's car on fire. The marshals, the brilliant Lyden marshals, on the scene so quickly, helping Will out of the car. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, no one wanted to see it end like this, but the Will Gollop car, there we can see Doc Benyon onto the scene very, very quickly indeed, and that is a tragedy indeed for Will Gollop. And even Martin Skanker, well, I say even Martin Skanker, I know that Martin or nobody else wanted to see this race end in this way, but there we can see the sight of one very, very damaged Metro 6R4. Happy to see that although Will is going into the ambulance, he's able to get in there on foot, and there happily also uninjured is Gary Baker in what is also a very damaged RS200. And we can see once again here Will trying to come round the outside of Pat Duran. Pat drifts a wee bit wide maybe, and Will has no option but to go into the tyre wall. An almost identical replica there of the accident of Hansty Pass. The car was then hit by Gary Baker, then it caught fire, and so virtually a triple accident for Will. He hit the wall, then Gary hit him, then the car caught fire, and another angle we see the accident. Pat still holding that second place, Will coming round the outside, and as they come onto the tarmac, I think Pat might have just clipped the curb there. That threw him wide, and there was nothing that he could do to avoid Will Gollop. And there you see Will hitting that tyre wall exactly where the wall bends round back towards the track. There's no way that you can slide down the bank, and Gary Baker was coming, and there was nothing that Gary could do. Rob Gibson just squeezing through, and Gary with a very, very heavily damaged RS200. So here we go then with the rerun, and it is indeed Martin Skanker leading it. Martin Skanker leading, and he doesn't want to win the European crown this way, I know. He comes away though in the lead, but he gets very sideways. Oh, and Martin Skanker loses it, going up the bank, and Martin Skanker off, and he is down into third place. It's Pat Duran from Rob Gibson and Gibbo looking for the lead. Rob Gibson looking for the lead, but Pat Duran leads the European Championship round for the first time ever in his short career in Rallycross. Martin Skanker is fighting back, and maybe, just maybe the European Championship is going to stay alight, and if it does, of course, if Martin Skanker doesn't win this, then I'm sure those G-Tech mechanics will work their hearts out to get the car ready for Hamburg. But meantime, Martin is down in third place, so Pat Duran is indeed doing Will Gollop a favour at the moment, and so is Rob Gibson, and they are leading 1-2 here. Mr. Rallycross himself, Steve Palmer, is right in there in fourth place as well. Stephen Palmer with the car glass Dynamics entry, but it is still Pat Duran from Rob Gibson. Martin still in third place. Steve in fourth. Up the hill they come, and on the inside, Martin Skanker looking for second place, and he's through on the inside, yes, he gets through, and as Gibson goes wide, Stephen Palmer takes the advantage to come through into third place, so Steve now into third place, and I hope you realise, of course, on the original running of this event, we had 5 British drivers in this race and just 1 Norwegian. The Norwegian is still there. This must be the first time ever that British drivers have oh so nearly dominated Division 2 in the European Championship, and it is still one of them out there in front, the former rallyman, Pat Duran, the man who said the only thing wrong with Rallycross is he didn't come into it quickly enough, but he loses that lead, and Martin Skanker is through now into the lead. Martin Skanker through into the lead, and he certainly has fought back in fine style, and the Sachs entry of Martin Skanker leads this one, but the 4 cars still very, very close together. So this is Mr. Rallycross then, looking now to take the European Championship for the 5th time. Add a 0 to that and you get 50, and this is what this is going to be for Martin Skanker, his 50th victory in European Rallycross, his 5th European Championship crown, and of course this has also got to be the major triumph for an RS200. We've seen lots of them here this weekend, some of them in action, some of them those splendid road examples that we saw at the head of our programme, but this surely is going to be a major victory, the major victory surely for the RS500, for the RS200 I should say, and that is Martin Skanker coming away then with his example, this very, very highly developed version that Martin has worked so hard on over the recent years, and he comes through, and Pat Duran surely going to make it an RS200 1-2, I would think. The 6R4s there of Stephen Palmer and Rob Gibson snapping at his heels, but as they come down, it is Martin Skanker, and Martin Skanker wins it. He takes the European Championship, he takes his 50th victory in European Rallycross, and he was hounded there by a trio of the very best British drivers can offer.
Okay, it's my 50th win, but still I don't feel as happy as I should have felt. But it'll take a few hours before it sinks in, and Will has given me a hell of a race all year long, so I hope that he can get his car ready for Germany if he feels like, and if not, I'm pretty much convinced that we'll meet each other for next year and we'll have the dogfights going on again.